Hello friends, welcome to another session of e-learning in Panchkarm, and today we will be continuing with physiotherapy and in that exercise therapy. Exercise therapy is performance of physical exertion for improvement of health or correction of physical deformity. Exercise therapy is a means of accelerating the patient's recovery from a stage of disease which alters his or her normal way of living. It also helps in promotion of activity wherever possible to minimize the effects of inactivity. It helps in corrections of inefficiency of a specific or a group of muscles and regain normal range of motion in a joint. It also helps to accelerate the rehabilitation process of a patient and encourages them to use the ability regained to perform their normal function. There are two major ways or techniques of exercise therapy, that is active and passive. Active technique is again of two subtypes, involuntary, that is reflex in nature, and voluntary, which can again be of various types like assisted, free, assisted resisted and resisted. Whereas passive are relaxed passive movements and passive manual mobilizations. Now we will study about active movement. As the name suggests, is movement produced by a person's own muscles and by the patient's or person themselves. It is of two types, voluntary and involuntary. What are the voluntary movements? These are movements controlled or performed by the voluntary action of muscles working in opposition to an external force and are of four types, that is free, assisted, assisted resisted and resisted. A free exercise is where the working muscles are subjected only to the forces of gravity acting upon the part moved or stabilized. Assisted exercise is when muscle strength or coordination is inadequate to perform a movement and external force is applied to compensate for the deficiency. Assisted resisted exercises are when muscles may be strong enough to work against resistance in the part of the range and not in the others. This type of exercise ensures that the external force applied are adapted in every part of the range to the abilities of the muscles. Resisted exercises are where the forces of resistance offered to the action of the working muscles are artificially and systematically increased to develop the power and endurance of the muscle. Involuntary movement. Involuntary movements are movements controlled or performed by the involuntary action of the muscles, and it is also called as reflex, which can be of various categories like reflex arc, stretch reflex, writing reflex and postural reflex. Reflex movement is involuntary and may be defined as motor response to sensory stimulation. These reflex movements are protective in character or concerned with the repetitive or repetition of movement patterns which have become automatic or habitual. Although stimuli which give rise to reflex movement do not usually gain conscious recognition, the patient is aware that reflex movement of the body have taken place. Reflex arc is a pathway of impulses which give rise to reflex activity. In its most simple form, it consists of two neurons, an afferent which leads from sensory receptor organ to the CNS and an efferent leading from CNS to the effector organ. A step reflex is a spinal reflex activated by stretching of a muscle. When an innervated muscle is stretched, it responds by contracting and developing tension to counteract the stretching force. This provides a means of promoting activity in muscles when voluntary effort is ineffective or too weak to do so. Writing reflex are series of reflexes concerned with the maintenance and restoration of equilibrium. Pushing the patient off balance elicits a series of mass movement designed to restore balance and save him from falling. Postural reflexes. The erect posture is maintained by a complex series of reflexes known collectively as postural reflexes. The effects and uses of reflect movement include initiation of reflex movement provides a meaning of promotion of activity of neuromuscular mechanism when voluntary effort is ineffective or insufficient for the purpose. It is also used in cases of flaccid paralysis and brain damage to facilitate initiation of movement and to combat effects of inactivity. Normal joint movement and the extensibility of muscles is maintained by this type of movement when spastic paralysis makes voluntary movement impossible. Circulation is improved by contraction of muscles and movement of joint. Temporary relaxation of spastic muscles is obtained following repeated movements of this type by means of reciprocal innervation. This may provide the opportunity for the development of voluntary ability to perform movement in cases of spastic paralysis. Postural reflexes are conditioned to reproduce a satisfactory pattern of posture by repeated use of these patterns. This is the basis of postural re-education. After active movements, now we will study passive movements. Passive movements are the movements which are produced by an external force during muscular inactivity or when muscular activity is voluntarily reduced as much as possible to permit the movement. It is classified into relaxed passive movements and passive manual mobilization, which is further categorized into mobilization of joints, manipulation of joints, and controlled sustained stretching of tightened structure. Relaxed passive movements are the movements performed accurately and smoothly by the physiotherapist. Knowledge of the anatomy of joints is required. The movements are performed in the same range and direction as active movements, and the joint is moved through existing free range and within the limits of pain. There are also accessory movements which occur as part of any normal joint movement but may be limited or absent in abnormal joint conditions. They consist of gliding or rotational movement which cannot be performed in isolation as a voluntary movement but can be isolated by the physiotherapist. Mobilization of joints are usually small, repetitive, rhythmical, oscillatory, localized, accessory or functional movements performed by the physiotherapist in various amplitudes within the available range and under the patient's control. These can be done very gently or quite strongly and are graded according to the part of available range in which they are performed. Manipulation of the joints can be done by physiotherapists or surgeons. The physiotherapist performs accurately localized, single, quick decisive movements of the small amplitude and high velocity which is completed before the patient can stop it. The surgeon performs a movement under anesthesia to gain further range. The increase in movement must be maintained by the physiotherapist. Controlled sustained stretching of the tightened structure is passive stretching of muscles and other soft tissues which can be given to increase the range of the movement, and the movement can be gained by stretching adhesions in these structures by lengthening of muscle due to inhibition of tendon protective reflex. Now we will gain insight into isometrics. Static exercises are also known as isometrics, are voluntary contraction and relaxation of skeletal muscles without changing muscle length or moving the associated part of the body. It includes method of maintaining muscle strength and tone by alternately contracting and relaxing a skeletal muscle or group of skeletal muscles without moving the associated body part. This kind of activity is very useful in preventing atrophy of muscles, especially in patients with conditions involving the joints. It is also beneficial in increasing the endurance, strength, and tone of the muscle. Before starting any movement or exercise, we should know what are the starting postures. It is said that posture follows a movement like a shadow. Every movement starts in a posture and ends in a posture. There are 5 starting postures: standing, kneeling, sitting, lying, and hanging or suspended postures. It depends upon which muscle set we are working on, and accordingly the starting posture is chosen. Benefits of isometrics or static exercise include: static stretching exercises involve specialized tension receptors in our muscles, and when done properly, static stretching slightly lessens the sensitivity of tension receptors, which allows the muscle to relax further and to be stretched to greater length. Stretching also helps to keep a person flexible and counteracts the repetitive movements of exercise. When performed correctly and at right time, static stretches help a person to lengthen tight muscles and improve the balance and overall fitness. Like any other exercise, static exercises also require certain precautions. They tend to drive up blood pressure in an instant. Thus, the people with circulation problems and high blood pressure should avoid overexerting pressure without muscle movements. They should not hold the breath while performing these exercises, as this would lead to increase in blood pressure. A professional advice is always highly recommended while undergoing any static exercise. It is not recommended for children and adolescents whose bones are still growing, as there are higher chances of damage to the tensions and connective tissue. It is also advisable to not to force a joint beyond its normal range of motion, which can lead to instability of the joint. It is not recommended in patients suffering from osteoporosis or taking steroids, as the risk of fracture is elevated. It is advisable to avoid aggressive stretching of muscles that have been immobilized in a splint or cast. It is also advisable to avoid stretching swollen and edematous tissue, as they are more susceptible to damage. With this, we come towards conclusion of the today's session as well as physiotherapy as a chapter in whole. I advise students to take a look into details of the various static exercises which can be performed. Thank you.